Alright, what's up, gaming friends? I'm here to share my thoughts on The Order 1886 PlayStation 4 exclusive. I have some notes to go along with here, so we're gonna not run on for too long here. So I keep my thoughts tracked and all that kind of stuff. So, right away, just playing the game from the start. From the start for several hours, I was bored out of my freaking mind, and it reminded me a bit of The Last of Us, and I was like, man, I really hope this game gets good like The Last of Us did. Unfortunately, it didn't. It got good, but not like The Last of Us. So the story, I mean, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story. I'm not going to spoil anything. Just a quick of how the story reached me. Okay, this is as I played the game, I played through the story. This is how the story affected me as I played through it. Blah 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 werewolf whoa blah 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 werewolf coo blah 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 vampire for a split second coo blah 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 blah. Will this ever end? That was the story, unfortunately. But good news is, last hour of the game was actually good. I'll talk a little bit more about that after I get into some of the reasons of just all this other stuff. Now, one of the things that I thought was really funny to me is the standout things for The Order 1886. Obviously, the graphics are amazing. I mean, they are amazing. They're freaking gorgeous. Just beautiful to look at. Unfortunately, just a lot of pointless walking around. That's what you do. Probably more than half the game. You walk a little bit, watch a cinematic for 10 minutes, walk some more, watch a cinematic for 10 minutes, press a button, walk some more. There's hardly any gameplay in the game at all. So as you go through it, the graphics are gorgeous, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But they're beautiful, man. They're really beautiful. Just impressive stuff. Another couple things that were really impressive, the music is amazing. After I finished the game, I was like, dude, I want the soundtrack to this. The soundtrack is beautiful. It's really beautiful. So I was telling one of my other buddies who had beaten the game and completed it, who's also disappointed, as everybody apparently is. But he said he has the soundtrack and he would send it to me, and I was like, cool. And then I looked it up on YouTube, and it's on YouTube, so you can listen to the full soundtrack on YouTube. I think it's a little over an hour long. That's what we're listening to right now. This is from the soundtrack. And the voice acting. The voice acting was excellent. It's too bad I didn't give a tiny crap about any of the words that they were saying for the most part. Just all blah, 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 blah. That was how good the story was. And the sad thing is like, I'm a huge fan of Knights of the Round, King Arthur. I love that stuff. I love it. So this was even more of a disappointment for me, because like the setting was something that I would totally be into, man. I was like looking forward to it. I couldn't believe it. Of course, like everybody else, I saw the reviews. Everybody was, crapping on it and stuff, and I was like, well, they reviews crap on a lot of my favorite games. I have a lot of games that I just love that other people hate, and I'm just like, all right. So I checked it out anyways. I got it, and it's definitely a game I regret pre-ordering. It's probably the first game I regret purchasing in a long time. Like, I might be disappointed in some games, but this one... Alright, so more stuff on that is that a lot of the cinematics are, so you go through this, I mean, it's nothing, it feels like probably 90% cinematics throughout this 9 to 10 hour game. You're just sitting there watching it, and then some of the cinematics, they're really pointless. They're opening doors, and you just watch these people walk as they talk, and that's it. There's no interesting story, and you just boring cinematics. Gorgeous graphics, of course, showcase game, whatever. But then you got these little props. Like, sometimes, maybe every 5 to 10 to 20 minutes, depends on which chapter you're on, you might get one quick button press interaction with the cinematic. Because sometimes, and you might fail. You might be sitting there watching the game, you might be looking away, you might be falling asleep at your chair, and all of a sudden you missed a QuickTime button press, and you lose. You gotta start that little part over again because you missed your button press during that long ass boring cinematic. And that's the funny thing is that's like every 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes you'll press one button, and then sometimes there's a button masher where you spam X, and that's it. 5 minutes of cinematic, 10 minutes of cinematic, press a button, another 10 minutes of cinematics, and there you go. There's very little actual combat in the game, and I wouldn't mind that so much if it wasn't for the fact that the story was so boring. Like, I'm a big story fan. I'll play a game with a good story, you know. I love the story. Give me a good story, but this was so boring. And it's another example of yeah, the cinematics, like where they open, you're watching these people open doors, and it's just it's so like, why are you doing this? Why is the cinematic happening? This is so pointless. This is the most stupid crap I've ever seen. So that is, I mean, yeah, that's very unfortunate, man. And you know, the funny thing, so the gameplay itself, I would have enjoyed it. I mean, it's pretty typical. It's a third-person cover shooter, which relies way too much on cover for my tastes, you know. Even then, I could jump out and kill people. I played it on the hardest difficulty or whatever, and got killed several times. And that was the longest I got to play the game. Is when I would, the most time I got out of the game was when I would die and have to start that little combat scene over again. Otherwise, I probably would have gotten through every single combat scene within like 2 minutes, maybe. I wouldn't even say 5 minutes. I wouldn't even say 5-minute combat scene. They're really short. And they would have been fun. I actually would have enjoyed the combat scenes if it wasn't for the fact that the story was so boring that I didn't care about anything that was happening. I was just like, oh, boring cinematic is over, and now I kill people, and now I'm back to boring ass story again. Okay. But yeah, I didn't like the constant cover, you know, like if you're out of cover, you die. That's the thing, the gameplay, I would have liked it if the story didn't suck so much. It has the coolest guns. Like, the Order has some great guns. I love the 3-barrel shotgun that can kill 2 enemies in one shot. You know, it's hilarious to pull that off. I did it twice in a row last night. I was like, whoa, that was so freaking cool, you know? It was hilarious, because you might be able to kill 3 if they're all lined up and whatever, but you got a few double kill shots with the 3-barrel shotgun. It was a lot of fun. And then there's the thermite gun, which you fire like gas at a target, and then you fire a flare at the gas, and then it blows up. It's really neat. It's pretty cool. And then there's the lightning gun. I mean, the guns, there's really cool guns in the game. But it just doesn't matter because you hardly ever use them. There's seriously so little gameplay. And, all right, what else we got? Oh, it's some of the interaction that you do with objects in the game. As when you read notes and newspapers and whatever, you can get this background lore and look at pictures and stuff like that, and you pick up the objects and you use the controller to move the object around. Like the letter, you flip the newspaper around and you can move it, but it's pointless. You pick up a newspaper with your character and you can churn it. You can churn it. That's your interaction with the object, is you can, ooh, look at me, and then you can flip it over. But it adds nothing. It adds nothing. That's all you could, that's it, man. You read a headline of a newspaper, you can move it around, that's it. It doesn't actually do anything. There's no purpose to it. And I was just like, I can't, like, the first time I thought I was like, hey, this is neat, and then every time you do it, it's just pointless. So I was like, okay, never mind. There were some werewolf fights that were really cool. I actually liked the werewolf fights, other than the fact that there's about, I think, 3 different werewolf fights where you engage multiple werewolves. Between 2 or 3 werewolves at a time. I think the first time you ever engage a werewolf, it's 1. But then you engage 2 or 3 werewolves at a time. And but the sad thing about that is every time you encounter those werewolves, you just shoot them down with your gun, and they come charging at you, and you dodge out of the way and you shoot at them. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's an interesting little mechanic. I liked it. I thought it was neat. But the horrible thing was, it happens about 3 or 4 times in the game, and it's always in the same exact room. It's always in like this little square room, and you can move around and pick up ammo, but you don't have to move. Like, you can sit in the same exact spot the entire time, wait for them to come to you, shoot them down, dodge real quick, shoot them, you know, after them as they run away, and then shoot them when you see them coming up. You know, you don't have to move around the room. But the thing about it is, the room, it always looked exactly the same. I'm, 2 hours in the game, I fight werewolves in this little room. 2 hours later, in another room, fighting werewolves, same exact, like, I can't even tell them in a different spot. It's like the same exact layout. And I was just like, wow. So that was, but the fight itself is neat. Like, I liked killing the werewolves, and after you shoot them down, you get to do a real quick jab them, stab them, dead thing, which is pretty cool. And then there were a couple other fights as well. There's a mini boss, not a mini boss, but like a middle game boss, and then the last boss. And there's a single werewolf that you face one-on-one and do some melee combat action with quick time events. And those were actually really cool. The sad thing about that is, again, the mid-boss and the last boss are exactly the same, but the last boss is longer. It's a little bit of a longer fight. That was the only difference. It's the same exact command, same exact, thing. They were neat fights, though. I thought they were really cool fights. But yeah, every werewolf fight was exactly the same, and I'm just like, the hell? So, I guess that's it about gameplay itself. There is some nudity. You got boobs in the game on ugly women. Whatever, it's funny. What I loved about it, though, I thought this was really funny. Because for whatever reason, you have to go through a brothel. Because there's always brothels in these places, in every game and all that kind of stuff. So you see boobs, a little bit of boobs, a little bit of sex. My favorite thing, though, it just made me laugh every time. To counter that, to give a little balance, there was plenty of penis going on. There was penis action. There was werewolf penis action. That's a spoiler alert. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, werewolf penis is in the game. Werewolf penis. But they call them Lycans. So not werewolves, Lycan, alright? Lycan penis. And then another note I had was there's a queen. I think she's a queen of India or something. I couldn't follow the story. The story was so hard to follow, not because it was deep or anything, because it was just so damn boring. So you team up with an Indian queen or whatever. She's part of the rebels, and she was my favorite character in the whole game. She actually was the only character that I thought had a real personality. There's a lot of story. It's long as hell. It's but there's one character that has any real personality, and I was just like, and so I loved her. I loved her for it. And let's see. So, I guess we're getting to the end here, and I got my damn neighbors outside with a giant machine. Anyways, is my music still playing? Alright, so final thoughts. I wish I could edit this. I'm not going to be editing this, so that sucks. The game actually does get good for about the last hour. I didn't time it. I meant to go time it. But about the last hour, the game actually gets good. The story picked up, and everything actually came together too. I could tell, even though I didn't really know because I didn't care what was happening, I could tell in that last hour, everything was coming together. Throughout all the boring, stupid crap, all the politics, all the nonsense, it finally came together. Stuff was coming together. It was making sense. And not that it was hard to follow. It was just. It came together better, the last hour of the game should have been the first hour, sadly. So yeah, I'd say around chapter 11 through the end, there's, I think 15 chapters, so I think it was chapter 11, a little bit into chapter 11, and then through the end. The story was good to follow, it was cool, it was interesting, and that was cool. I definitely dug it after that point. Sad thing is, I didn't even want to turn the game on. Every time I thought about turning it on to complete it, I kind of dreaded it. I didn't want to. I was like, no, please don't make me play this game. Please don't make me play this game. So I'm definitely glad I finished it. I'm glad I completed it. I'm glad I played through it. But I'm not glad that I had to play it. I'm really glad I did, but I'm not glad that I had to. There's just several hours of just crapola. So anyways, that's my review of the Order 1886. Let me know what you guys think. Have you played the game? Do you agree? I think some people will like it. Obviously there are people out there that enjoy political stuff and won't be as completely bored and being put to sleep as I was while playing it. Well, yeah, there's word, everybody's talking about, there may be a sequel, because there's room for a sequel, but you know what, at this point, I can only hope not. I really hope there's no sequel, as I wouldn't buy it. I kind of want to, because the last hour of this game was actually pretty good, and it made me want more. It made me want more. Like, I was like, whoa. That's why I said it should have been the first hour of the game and continued from there. But I would not pre-order the next game, and I wouldn't pay more than $20 for it if there was a sequel. I'm just not after what I went through with this crap. So, alright, so yeah, cool. Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a share, whatever, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.